This video is sponsored by Aquashine Exteriors, professional jet washing and cleaning services across Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole, including Dorset, Hampshire and Wiltshire. Are you feeling it's time to get that driveway nice and shiny for when you come home? Or are you wanting to get that guttering tidied up and spotless again? They deliver this, plus much, much more. Please head into the description below where you'll find their details for their website, including the socials, Facebook and Instagram. You also need to find their before and after portfolio. You can also call them on 07503 998 088 for a free quotation. Don't wait till next week. Don't think you'll do it another day. Pick up the phone, give them a call, check them out. Good evening. We are live on YouTube and Twitter. Your best interactive experience is to be over on YouTube, though, as we preview Bournemouth versus Tottenham in the Premier League on Saturday. Yes, both teams searching for a win. If you're new to Cherries Red Army, please do subscribe. Also hit the like button at some point this evening. Look, minimum 50 likes we look for. Can we do it tonight? Can we do it if you're watching this video back? We'll really appreciate it. Obviously, use that interactive chat. I can see you already saying hello. We'll get through them in just a moment. But if you are watching this video and you couldn't catch it live, please do let us know your thoughts in the comments. Look, we've got lots to talk about tonight. We've got an opposition guest. We're going to go and have a look at what happened on Monday night in London. We got the predicted 11 and, of course, those score predictions. And some are saying around here that this is a derby. A derby. We're down the south coast. Tottenham in London. It's got something to do with VAR, apparently. But let's get on with the match preview.
Cheeky one, square, and
And we're going to kick off tonight's show, starting with the opposition view. It's great to welcome on Ricky from The Last Word on Spurs. How are you doing, buddy? Tell us about your podcast and what content you've got this weekend on this fixture.
Well, Kirk, thanks for having me. Yeah, like I say, a big game for Spurs, of course, this weekend. Bournemouth to come in the Premier League. It's weird. I'm only on the other side of the fence doing interviews. So it's like I say, you're challenging me tonight, Kirk, which is interesting. We provide instant post-match analysis. We do previews, reviews, opposition previews, pretty much similar to you guys. So we'll be looking back for instant reaction to this one on Saturday evening on a 7 p.m. slot. So for Spurs fans, it would be therapy or be party time, one of the two. So feel free, Bournemouth fans, feel free to come and join us. We get lots of opposition fans that watch Last Word on Spurs. So we do try and provide a light-hearted entertainment for about an hour and a half or so, depending on how the result goes. There have been therapy sessions recently rather than party time sessions, Kirk, based on the results and style of football, which I'm sure we're going to come on to during this.
We definitely will. And to make it even easier for you Bournemouth fans, the links are in the description below. You can go and check out The Last Word on Spurs, details and their previews and reactions this weekend. Check them out. Links there straight to the channel. We've also got Chris Hubble joining us this evening, Mark Cole, Mark Singleton. Sammy, how are you? Doing a radio performance, I think, for the Cherries this evening locally. We've got Aaron. He'll be joining us on the actual show very, very soon. We've got Gene from the States, AFC Bournemouth Germany, Ollie May. Great stuff that Ollie's doing on his channel. Cameron, Morgan, great to see you this afternoon. Carol and Dan Chase. We'll get them out the way. Anyone else currently joining us, do let us know in the chat. But Ricky, I want to know more about Tottenham. Please do start with summarising your season. That was a very good start. I think a 7 unbeaten, but currently off the back of 2 losses.
Yeah, that's right. 2 back-to-back defeats in the Premier League. I think you said it there, Kirk. Steady start, hardly spectacular. But look, essentially for Tottenham, I mean, they were getting the job done. I think there was concerns over the brand of football you're watching. But I think, again, when you're getting results, you don't really seem to question it, because the most important thing in the Premier League, as you probably know, is always 3 points. And Spurs were accumulating those points quite nicely. I don't think any Spurs fans ever believed that we were going to be in a title challenge, but it was nice to see us, of course, getting towards the top of the Premier League and keeping pace with City And I hate to say it, Arsenal, who have obviously started really, really well. And then the last couple of weeks, we have hit a bit of a blip, starting really with, well, of course, that defeat to Arsenal, start of October in the North London derby. Spurs did recover. And then subsequently, we had Man United away at Old Trafford, where, I mean, we literally just didn't lay a glove on United, which is really disappointing when you look at the way United have been over the course of the last couple of years. I mean, despite they've obviously looked better under Ten Hag, they've been there for the taking. And simply Spurs, at the moment, just they're not showing their full potential, which we believe they can. I mean, granted, they're without Kulusevski and Richarlison, two absolutely key influential players for the squad. I think the argument amongst Spurs fans is that really, can Conte be getting more out of this squad? And that will be the question, which I think he's being tasked with at the moment. And personally, for me, look, I'm a big Antonio Conte fan. I still want him in charge. I still believe in his vision, his project. But ultimately, the style of football isn't great at the moment. And with fans, Tottenham fans in general, I think similar to Bournemouth to some degree, we do like to see a certain brand of football. We are used to watching expansive, free-flowing, attacking football. But having said that, I think as Spurs fans, on the other hand, we do just want to win trophies now. And I think we would be prepared to sacrifice an element of the style if we do get the trophies. But based on the recent performances, can't really see either coming at the moment, Kurt, which is the biggest concern.
When we come on these previews, we do tend to talk about the last fixture. Now, I know your last fixture last night was the Champions League, which I'm sure you don't want to talk about, but let's focus on the Premier League. And that was a 2-1 loss at home to Newcastle. Now, I think the first goal is up for discussion, potentially with VAR. I think you have the same frustrations with VAR as Bournemouth fans do. I think Lloris can sometimes gift teams a goal. I might be wrong in that thinking, but as an outsider, I think sometimes he's a very good goalkeeper and sometimes he gives away freebies. But talk about that 2-1 loss against a very good Newcastle team that are rising nicely under former Bournemouth manager Eddie Howe.
Yeah, I mean, just on that game, I think a lot of Spurs fans did go into that quite concerned and a bit pessimistic because Newcastle, to be fair to them, they have played an exciting brand of football. They've got some really good players in that side. And I look at Spurs at the moment and there is that ultimate concern as to if we are not playing to our 100%, and you meant look at Son there and the pictures and that VAR decision, of course, with Wilson and Lloris. Spurs, I feel at the moment, just aren't playing 100% as a team. They haven't really been playing as a team all season. So it is an element of concern. But ultimately, there's no doubt about it. Newcastle were the better side on the day. I know Conte, obviously, at full-time, felt Spurs should have been deserving of a point. I'm going to be real and honestly say I think Newcastle thoroughly deserved the 3 points on the day. I don't think we can argue at the moment. Yes, we're massively missing Kulusevski and, of course, Richarlison. Just picking up one of the comments there from Aaron who says, will they both be available? I think Kulusevski, I'd like to think there's an opportunity of being back in the squad, but Richarlison in this game I think will come too soon for him. Obviously, we'll get more of an update from Antonio Conte in his pre-match press conference on Friday. But with the 11 Spurs have got at the moment and the core group around that, it is really concerning at the moment. I do think Bournemouth are playing Spurs at a really, really good time for them.
Let's talk about Antonio Conte then, because I heard and read somewhere that he wants 3 transfer windows to get you competitively. I heard him last night as well, saying that if a top team, if that decision last night was against a top team, it would have gone your way. I think Tottenham are up there with being a top team. I think you'll definitely break in the top 4. I do like Antonio Conte, but I think we've spoken before, Ricky, about potentially managers lasting the term of what they need. And Antonio Conte, does he stay at a club long enough? That's a big question. I mean, how is the feeling around Tottenham and Antonio Conte? Because I'm not sure it is quite a fit, you know.
I mean, listen, Spurs have tried so many different approaches with managers. I mean, if you go back a few years ago, I think Pochettino ticked everybody's boxes in terms of the brand of football we were playing, where Spurs were going. Of course, they were progressing nicely under him. Champions League in terms of regularly getting in the Champions League places in the Premier League. And then, of course, leading us to cup semi-finals, to finals and never quite getting over the line. Ultimately, that was the closing doors moment. Were you going to back Pochettino? The club didn't decide to back Pochettino. They reverted to Jose Mourinho. They reverted to a winner. They, you could say to some degree, sold their soul because they felt Mourinho would be the man to lead them to the promised land. If we're being honest with you, you could arguably say that Mourinho appointment set Spurs back even further than what they were before behind Pochettino, it even again magnified the fact the squad needed a real rebuild and an overhaul. And I've said this about Mourinho, and I've said the same about Conte, and I say the same thing twice a week on Last Word on Spurs because of the number of games we're doing at the moment, having to review, that these are managers that if you do not give them exactly what they want, it will never work. So there's absolutely no point giving Antonio Conte plan B, plan C, alternatives. No. You have to give the man exactly what he wants, exactly the profile of player he wants, exactly his choice of players, or it will never work. So look, we're in that situation with Conte now where he has obviously laid down the gauntlet. He reckons it will take him 2 to 3 windows to get Spurs competitive. I mean, we are only third in the league at the moment. And only a few weeks ago, Spurs had their best ever start to a Premier League season. So it's not all broken. And I think Conte, which he never will do, I think he does need to show a little bit of flexibility with regards to his formation, which he never will because he's as stubborn as ever. Because rightly, why would he listen to me when the guy's won God knows how many trophies in his career? You know, he's a renowned winner, serial winner wherever he's been. And quite frankly, I think if you look at his CV, it tells you that he knows how to win. Whatever the place, whatever the country, no matter the league, he is successful. So his argument will be, well, if you back me and give me what I want, I will get you success. And the argument has always been with Tottenham where they come out of a window and they never quite come out of enough of really the players they need. We always feel we're maybe 1 or 2 players short. And I think Spurs are in that scenario again, and that situation where a couple of injuries hits the team. And we now find ourselves, as we've said before, in a situation where you're relying on backups to come in and do a job where, quite frankly, they're not good enough. And that's, I think, where we are, Kirk, at the moment.
Can you tell me then, potentially, what the squad will look like on Saturday? Because you've also got a very big game now on Tuesday next week against Marseille, I think, to guarantee your spots in the knockout for the Champions League. I'm listening to you talking about that squad, and I'm looking at that squad this morning, and this is your last lineup against Newcastle, and I'm looking at a team in midfield that doesn't have a lot of creativity in there. It has a lot of workhorses. It has players that can win the ball, that work hard between defence and attack. But when you're looking for someone to pick out Harry Kane, you've got Son there, you've got Kulusevski, you've got Richarlison now in the squad. Are you missing something in that midfield potentially?
Yeah, absolutely. I was banging the drum in the summer saying Spurs had to go and get themselves a number 10, a Maddison-type player. Obviously, Eriksen was hugely linked and the club didn't follow up from what I was advised on initial interest. So Conte basically has gone with his trusted system of relying on the wing-backs. The problem that Tottenham have got is they haven't really got great wing-backs, which then kind of defeats the object of what you're trying to achieve. And no disrespect, when you've got Ryan Sessegnon, Emerson Royale as your fullbacks, it's very hard to then make this system work. And you look at the alternatives to that. You've got, of course, Ivan Perisic, who, to be fair to Perisic, serial wherever he's been, he's really struggled to really adapt to the pace of the Premier League so far. And then, again, Matt Doherty, I've never been massively convinced of a Matt Doherty. I've got to be honest with you. I've never really thought it was good enough for a club like Tottenham. He's had obviously injury problems, was taken out last season by Matty Cash with a horrendous tackle, never really recovered. He's had a couple of games here and there for Conte, but hasn't really broke back in. And Jed Spence is the enigma, a player that was so highly rated across the summer. Spurs fans so excited to see him come in, and he's not yet started a competitive minute of football at the moment. It does have a feeling where Spence will be saved probably for his first game, which will be against his former club in Nottingham Forest in the Carabao Cup, potentially. So I would imagine that, again, Spurs are in a situation where they'll go with probably 9 out of that 11, if I'm being honest with you, Kirk, that you've put up on the screen there a minute ago on Saturday.
And as you look at Bournemouth, a team that haven't scored in the last 2 under interim manager of Gary O'Neill, is there any players that you're concerned about that potentially could hurt your defence and your goalkeeper on Saturday?
It's a good question. I mean, Adam Smith's in there, a former Spurs boy. Listen, Spurs have always got a tendency, as we saw in the last game, to have former players score against them. As we saw Marcus Edmonds arrow one in from 25 yards. I think generally with Bournemouth, Solanke obviously is a player that I've admired for some time. I think he's a good player. But I think overall, the team ethic there, if Gary O'Neill can get them to buy into that on Saturday, I know you come off the back of a couple of defeats, but at the same time, I am alarmed for this game. This game has got a real frightening feeling for me about this. I think Conte is under a little bit of pressure now, and you could see that with his post-match reaction after that game, of course, with Sporting, where he blamed everybody but the players or himself with that performance. He decided to blame it all on VAR, which again, that VAR decision is again controversial because there's an element where again we could be seen to be short-sighted on it, but Spurs didn't play well for 65, 70 minutes of that game on what are we now on Tuesday night. So I'm not going to sit here and moan about VAR decisions when we've played for an hour and not really laid a glove on the opposition. So I think ultimately where Spurs are at the moment, we have to go and get a result at Bournemouth. And these grounds always concern me. They're tight. Fans get behind the team. And this is about character. It's about bottle. You mentioned, of course, as you said there, Kirk, we've got a massive game on Tuesday, which will be in the forefront of the mind of the players. And also this World Cup, I have to say this, I'm not sure if you guys are finding this. I know you may, no disrespect, haven't got as many internationals as Tottenham, but I feel with every game getting close to the World Cup, players are being a little bit more cautious in terms of going in for those 50-50s. We're noticing it now, game by game, really, that I'm worried. I am worried about Saturday. You know, these games always worry me. You can't go in overconfident. We have to play the game and play the 11 that we've got ahead of us. And hopefully that's enough to get us over the line.
Ricky, it's been great to have your opinion on this match, but I do need to know what your score prediction is for Saturday. We've had some good games in the past between the teams. I think we've only beaten you once. It was a freak man of the match performance from Mark Travers, but you have beaten us comfortably on other days as well. How are you feeling about Saturday? What is your score prediction?
Well, I can't come on to here, Kirk, and not back Tottenham as much as I am terrified over what I'm watching at the moment with them. But I think it'll be a very, very close encounter. I see it being an odd goal in it. I'm being honest with you. I think probably edging 2-1 Spurs, but I honestly think this game could go either way. I really, really do. This will not be a 4-5, 6-0 game. It won't be. Spurs have not been playing in that manner for it to be like that. I think Spurs could start off quite cagey. I think they'll try and, like I say, just as I said, be cautious of Bournemouth. You know, we've not gone to a team really and look like we're going to put 5 or 6 past them. So I think it'll be a very, very close game. And I think Bournemouth, if they play to their best, they could easily get a result against Spurs. Nothing would surprise me. So I will back Spurs. I will go for a 2-1 Spurs win, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if the game does end in a 1-1 draw. How's that?
Ricky, really appreciate your time. I'll take a 1-1 draw all day long. Make sure you check out Ricky's details in the description below. Make sure you check their content out this weekend. Ricky, thank you very much.
Pleasure. Kirk, thanks so much. And guys, best luck for the rest of the season, obviously, apart from Saturday.
And we'll be continuing with this preview as we bring on some Bournemouth guests and we move the full focus to the Cherries. Make sure you hit that like button. Please do subscribe to Cherries Red Army as we continue this match preview of Bournemouth versus Tottenham. Aaron, welcome to the show. How are you? I spoke to you on Monday. You tried to get a connection for the watch along. I think you're glad you didn't. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. Nice to see you both. Yeah, I'm sure we'll touch on it. Horrific night all round.
Steve, was you on that coach that took about 6 hours to come back?
I was on a coach that took a long time to come back. It wasn't the coach that is in. We got a mega bus and he seemed to do a circuit of Heathrow about 4 times. Wow. Yeah, completely. We got back about 3:30 in the morning, I think it was. Yeah, but and Aaron, yeah, I'm very well. And Aaron, sorry I didn't see you very short, for very long, but you were. I've never seen Aaron so angry as I saw him on Monday night, although be it briefly.
He was not happy in our WhatsApp.
Nor was I, to be fair.
I could see
that. No, you really weren't. Everyone was, yeah.
Right. Guys, we've got lots to talk about Bournemouth. Lots have come out from the presser this morning, this afternoon, shall I say. We'll get onto that in a moment. But we will bring out Guess the Player. You can get involved in the interactive chat. What I'm going to do is give
Hold on a second. Hold on a sec. Is Steve not doing the quiz? Is he getting off lightly without the quiz?
We're going to bring back the quiz soon. I haven't had a chance to write 12 questions.
I know full well it's my... Does that mean all my research that I've done for today is yes. Now null and void?
So the 60-second quiz will come back very, very soon. But we are going to guess the player. Clue 1 then. So don't give me your answer yet. We're going to get the answers at the end. You can get involved in the chat. So the first clue is that this player played for AFC Bournemouth and Spurs? So I expect you to have the answer now, but I don't want to know about it yet now. I want to know later, but that is your first clue. Aaron, let's just quickly talk a little bit more on Tottenham. You've just heard Ricky speak there about Spurs, a team that started very well, but they're off the back of 2 losses in the Premier League. This is finely balanced. What's your thoughts on what Ricky was saying and this fixture? And the team?
I mean, I think I can see where he's coming from. They're not on a great run of form. They've lost, there's the last 3 league games, isn't it? Arsenal, Man United and Newcastle. There may be definitely the last 2 league games. And last night didn't go as well for them. I actually only caught the second half last night of their game. So they actually, for me, they played pretty well second half. They were all out attack, but obviously the first half was poor. Yeah, I wouldn't be as terrified if I was him, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's a potential banana skin. We'll come on to our team later, our team news and stuff. We've potentially obviously got problems at both ends of the pitch. Yeah, I mean, they've still got a lot of quality. You know, the fact is, I'm hoping Kulusevski and Richarlison are still out. I'm hoping they won't risk them against us. But you know, when you've got Kane and Son up front, they still got players all over the pitch who can hurt you. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's without wanting to put the mockers on it, they aren't the sort of team like a City, Liverpool, Arsenal who can keep going for the jugular and get more goals. You know, if they do go a goal up, then he wants to protect it. So it might well be a tight-ish game, but for me, they've still got a lot of quality for sure.
Steve, they have only lost to teams in the top 6, though. They've not lost to any team outside of the top 6. But I was looking at their squad earlier, and I do definitely think it's not a weakness, but I don't see the real quality in the midfield once they're on the ball. I can see them winning the ball back comfortably from us, but when they've got to find the likes of Kane, Son and all those attacking players, it's not really there. They haven't got the Christian Eriksen that they used to have, and they're definitely missing something in that midfield currently, and I think that could help us maybe on Saturday.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was listening to the aftermath of yesterday's game actually on the radio, and they were saying exactly the same. Since they haven't had Eriksen, they've missing that little creative thing. Harry Kane's having to drop in like we've seen him do and try and make things happen for the team. You say you take out Richarlison and Kulusevski, but then Moura comes in. That's Brazilian international. He's a quality player. So a couple of seasons ago they were in the Champions League's final. That pretty much that front three. So it's still a daunting task. But I think, like Aaron said, and like you've alluded to as well, Conte isn't that sort of go for the jugular type manager, is he? He's kind of, I'll get in front and I'll take what I've got and I'll shut the door on you and it's a little bit Mourinho-esque, I think, in a way. But yeah, I think they're just that's the only place around the pitch I think that we're gonna maybe find a bit of joy in. Get Lewis and Jeff in there causing problems and clipping a few heels as Jeff likes to do. Maybe he'll get some sent off again. Easy for me to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
We'll see what that predicted 11 is later on as well. Staying with you then, Steve, we have to go back to our last football match. We were looking for a reaction to that 1-0 loss to Southampton when we took on West Ham in the London Stadium. Look, we were poor. I think we can all admit, especially the first half, we were poor. Again, I think an unchanged side was wrong. We'll get to the VAR in a moment, Steve, but we didn't do enough in the game to probably deserve anything from the game. But I wouldn't say that West Ham were well beat us either. It was a bit of a weird game that culminated in VAR having the limelight. Yeah,
I mean, you've hit the nail on the head again. I mean, it literally was a 0-0. It was 0-0 game written all over it. They didn't really threaten us. I think Neto may have made, they say it's some great saves. I only saw one, but apart from that, they didn't really knock on the door too much. And yeah, we didn't do a lot with the ball either. And like Gary O'Neill's alluded to in his press conference and various interviews, that we're a bit casual on the ball. We weren't, our final pass wasn't there. It was a little bit sloppy at times. But equally, like you say, it was a genuine all round. It was a bit of a poor match.
Heather's also gone. Hello, chaps. She's joined us.
Hello,
Thank
Heather.
you to everyone who is currently joining us. Aaron, look, Gary O'Neill said we were better in the second half when he brought on players that could help relieve pressure off our defenders and actually take us forward. We still didn't have that quality in the final third. But when you drop Dembele from the squad to put Pearson in the team, I think you get an obvious reaction in what you're looking to set up, and what you're trying to achieve in the game is maybe scoring a goal on the break and then consolidating that. And that is a pragmatic manager that Gary O'Neill is currently. He's trying to protect what he's achieved, which is very, very good stuff in getting us points on the boards and getting us competing. But this was always coming, and I think off the back of Southampton I wanted to see a little bit more. I know we're on the road, but really we can play Jordan Zamora. There's no risk there. He's not bad at defending. I don't know why people think he is. I think we set up too negatively, and we sort of got punished for it, although the goal, as we'll come to in a moment, was dubious.
Yeah, first I want to put out there, it has to be up there, one of my worst away games of all time. For so many, and I've been, we've all been. I've been at some horrendous grounds in League Two and League One over the years. It's just forget the match. It's just a soul. I mean, we're 200 yards from in between our own sets of fans. We were behind you, Steve, in the top tier. I've never known an atmosphere as rubbish as that, and the whole feel of it. It wasn't an away day. It was awful. Anyway, the game. You know what? I got a feeling it's going to be Gary O'Neill who, for me, won't be getting a job after the World Cup. Whatever people think, whether he will or not. For me, it's going to be a lot of what ifs for me, because I do think that you look back at games. You know, obviously Southampton's won. You look back at Brentford, potentially Wolves. You know, you look back at other games, and it's kind of what if. You know, we had gone for it a bit more. What happens if we had played the likes of Anthony and Zamora? A bit more pace about us. You know, again, that first half, you know, when you're breaking away and you're sending Christie down the wing or Tavernier down the other wing, Tavernier not slow, but again, they're not going to get away with blistering pace, and they're always turning back. It's always keeping the ball, you know, away from home, certainly away from home. And he is pragmatic, and you know, the other side of the coin is he steadied the ship, which he certainly has. Got the players playing for each other. That is without a doubt. You know, so from a character point of view, and from a togetherness point of view, and from effort and everything like that, full marks to him. But I just think, you know, we're setting up just a bit cagey, and I think, you know, West Ham were there to be got at, and Southampton certainly were there to be got at. If we'd have played Zamora and Anthony against Southampton, I think we would have won the game. And I think if we'd have started with Zamora and Anthony against West Ham, we might well have got something from it, because what they did inject was a bit of pace and a bit of zip and a bit of an understanding. There's partnerships. It's just it's frustrating. Steve got it. Steve was right. It was a 0-0 game. You know, we conceded from the goals we can obviously talk about till the cows come home. But yeah, it was just disappointing all round. And I'm kind of thinking, you know, we're running out of games. You know, the run he's been on, there's a lot of winnable home games there, and they've kind of come and gone.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's the home games where you say, take the shackles off a little bit more. We're at home. I can understand it to some degree when you're away from home.
Agree.
Being a bit more pragmatic, like you say. But let's go back to when he came in and we just shipped 16 goals without reply, really. And he's got a remit to steady the ship and get, you know, show that team is competitive in this division, which he's done. You know, if we carried on like we were, who knows where we'd be at the moment.
Yeah, it was 16 goals in 4 games, and now it's 9 goals in 8 games. So you've got to credit him there. Yeah, I do agree with you. I think Southampton, I wouldn't say it was a bottle job, but Southampton, we could have been
Southampton's the one, isn't it? That was where you should have been brave.
Could have been more brave. I can understand on the road if you go a little bit more pragmatic, but you still got to offer something in the final third. I mean, there was only really Dom trying to take on everyone to try and score, and that's just not good enough. I do want this preview to finish inside an hour, guys, but we need to just touch on VAR again. It's in another preview, right? There's 2 in there, but let's just focus on the first goal that pretty much kills the game and kills the team. Right. It's a handball for me. Like, there's so many conversations that you've listened to on Talk Sport or 5 Live or Sky Sports, and they're saying it's not in this phase, it's not deliberate. In my opinion, Steve, he's kept that ball alive in the 6-yard box. Inside 5 seconds, they've scored. The weird thing about this is there could be a scenario where Mepham doesn't touch the ball and it goes in the back of the net, and it's disallowed. It's ridiculous, right? I think if the creators of football, whenever it was in 1800, would see this now, they'd be turning in their grave for me.
I completely agree with you, mate.
Handball all day long. There shouldn't be discussions about deliberate. He's kept that ball alive. I don't care what phase it's in. Steve, just your reaction to 1-0 to West Ham, the handball, the VAR that pretty much nailed the game.
Well, I didn't see it in real time. It happened. I saw it back, but I mean, where do you start with it? There's a conversation. I've heard people say it's not deliberate. He's not seen it. It's come over the head of players. Well, it's come from the corner. It's come over, and it's come quite high as well. It's not like it's skimmed over someone's head and just come at him. He's gone up too early. That's the problem. That's where he's cocked up. He's jumped too early, realised the ball's dipped on him, and he's just gone like that. And he's actually turned his body towards the goal. It's gone towards Mepham. And you say about phases of play. You said 5 seconds. I actually timed it. It was 2 to 3 seconds. And if that's not the same phase of play, I don't know what's going on with our game. Because I mean, how can Mepham's just reacting to it? He's not. You say he had a chance to clear it. He's literally reacting to a ball that he doesn't expect to come at him from someone's hands in a volleyball-esque style. So he can't really generate much power on that, which and it comes back in, and he's already sort of not marked. Well, not he can't react because he's just made a header like literally a second beforehand. So that's nonsense. I mean, the whole thing's nonsense. I mean, you've said it. I mean, the guys would be turning their graves if they knew what was going on with it. And the fact that it's subjective. I mean, that in itself to me, it almost seems like it gives the referee an excuse to whatever decision they make, because it's subjective. They're always going to be right in one way, shape, or form. They can manipulate the wording or whatever. I mean, I heard a new one. I mean, let's not carry on. But the Spurs thing last night, I mean, that's mental as well. I didn't even know that was a thing. If your ball goes backwards.
That's where I'm at with this, Aaron, to sort of wrap VAR up, is with goal line technology, it's a robotic system that tells the ref correct one way or another that it's in or it's out. There's no conversation about it. It's 100% spot on when it's on. When we're talking about VAR, it's subjective. It's a referee going to another
handballs
referee.
It is.
Yeah. For handballs.
Fouls, yeah.
And for fouls. The problem is it's not a robotic system telling the referee that it's a wrong decision or it's a right decision. It's still open for debate in people's opinions. It's failing. We've tried to make it work for years now. It's ruining the game. It's taking look at Tottenham last night, right? That atmosphere went absolutely mental. 4 minutes later, they're brought back down to earth. I'll tell you what's going to happen, Aaron, is you're going to have a Tottenham stadium full of 60,000 fans that are going to stop going in 5 years' time because they're going to get annoyed by it. We're going to have a brand spanking new stadium potentially in 5 years' time that fans are not going to want to go to because they're not part of the process with VAR, and it's going to just ruin the entertainment. This is what I think they've got to understand is I don't know how you go about sorting it out. I don't think you can sort it out. While it's subjective, while it's open to interpretation, you're just going to keep going around in circles. Goal line technology works, VAR doesn't.
VAR is absolutely fine. It's the interpretation of it and the rules, right? So I mean, as Steve said, it hit the hand. Mepham did his job as a defender. If Mepham had not done his job as a defender and it had gone in, it would have been disallowed. And conversely, I think I heard Tom say this. If Mepham had, after that foul, if Mepham had literally rugby tackled the bloke to the floor, the referee would have given a penalty, fine, but then he would have seen, and because it was handball just before that, it would have been ruled out. So what we're saying is, if someone handballs it deliberately, don't try and clear it. Elbow in the head, because it's getting to that stage. It's the most ridiculous interpretation of the rules I've ever seen. And someone sent me, a West Ham fan a friend of mine sent me the official rules. By the official rules, it was a goal, right? And that is the biggest nonsense of the lot, because how on earth is that not contributing to the goal? It is ruining football, as you say. It's the beautiful game is just being literally ripped apart week in, week out. We obviously feel we are suffering 10 out of 10, and we clearly are. But I think you'd ask every single club in the Premier League if they hate it, and I'm sure they'll agree. It's just, I don't know how we reverse it. I think we have to go back to, for me, if it hits your hand, it's a handball. Simple as that. I think you've got no other choice now. If it hits, and it might work both ways, but at least if it hits your hand, it's a handball.
But if you were to reverse it to how we had it before, where it's purely by the judgment of the referee at the time, he didn't see any replays of it. I believe we were having less conversations about it back then than we are now.
We were okay with it, weren't we? We were okay with it.
Yeah, because it's one man making a wrong decision. It's not 4 or 5 guys, however many it is, who are looking at it, slowing it down, whatever, manipulating the wording of the rule and just using it to back their argument up, whatever it is. I mean, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
We are not going to let VAR run any more through this preview. So we've had our conversation again about VAR. It's been on a previous preview. It's going to keep.
You don't want to talk about Jay-Z, Ben Johnson? Yeah. No.
I was going to say, hold on. Didn't you go out and try and slide without keeping your arms up? Didn't you try that out in your garden or something?
Yeah, it started to rain though, so I went back in. So we still need to run that experimental test.
And again, sorry, just to touch on Jay-Z, right? Yeah. Fine, that's a penalty, no problem at all. Lerma's a penalty, fine. Kelly's a penalty, fine. But why was Gabriel's not a penalty? Why was the one against Brentford not a penalty? Why was the one against Southampton, we haven't mentioned that, not a penalty? Newcastle against Spurs, not a penalty. It's an absolute joke.
Consistency.
Yeah.
We'll get to the presser in the moment that Gary O'Neill.
Anyway, what were we here for?
This afternoon. Match preview of AFC Bournemouth versus Tottenham. Please do subscribe if you're new to Cherries Red Army and hit the like button. But we've got our second clue coming your way in Guess the Player. So your first clue was that this player played for AFC Bournemouth and Spurs. Clue 2, this player made 30 appearances for England and scored 7 goals. Don't want your answer yet in the chat. Don't want your answer yet, Steve or Aaron. But that is clue 1 and clue 2 for Guess the Player. We'll get your final clue out in about 10 minutes time. Steve, Gary O'Neill was in front of the press this morning and he spoke about a few players that we need to talk about very, very soon. Neto is injured, hamstring. That's an opportunity for Mark Travers to come back in from the start, and Dom Solanke might be okay. And with other players also playing games for the under-23s, the academy, like Marcondes, this squad is still having to be managed by him. And with the players not turning up at the moment in certain positions, is there a shout to change his team in a bit?
When you say not turning up, I don't really think it's a case of not turning up in a way of effort or anything like that. I think players like Christie and Tavernier, they have become very, very frustrating as players, as in their final ball or end product, whatever you want to call it. In that regard, you could say they're not delivering. Generally, their work rate and general play, I think, has been pretty good. I can't really pick anybody so far this season that's really not been at the party as such. I think it's going to be difficult for those fringe players permanently. I think they will have to, take advantage of their opportunity when they get them, because I don't really see a lot to change there. There's the left-hand side argument. Obviously, there's injuries if they come into play. Obviously, Neto's, like you said, he's out, and we're not sure how long that's going to be. But Travers, I mean, I agree completely with what Gary O'Neill said in his presser. I would have no problem with Travers coming back. It's almost like we've got 2 number ones in a way. We all know how good Travers has been for us throughout the Championship season. How he's had miracle performances against Spurs before. We all know he's a decent keeper and he's very young. He's going to have moments like he had at the beginning of the season where it was a tough period for him. I'm always talking like Gary O'Neill now. I'm talking about moments, but yeah. So I think it's going to be tough for those fringe players, and they're going to have to grab their opportunities with both hands when they get them. I think Jaden Anthony is probably the one who's knocking on the door the most, because he has really grasped his opportunities when he had them. I mean, he's lucky to not have 2 goals under his belt. He's only got the 1 because 1 was chalked off. But yeah. Apart from that, I don't really see that a lot of the team are really not performing as in work ethic and work rate. I think they're all doing what they've been asked to do. We'll have to wait for the cup games, I think, to see the likes of, like you say, Marcondes, Pearson, unless we get any injuries. And I just think that's the basic facts of it, really.
Aaron, another player that's been spoken about this week, I think Jack Tanner did a written piece on Marcus Tavernier, and this is someone that I focused on very much recently. I've said I praised his work rate, I praised his versatility. We're getting into a stage now, 12 games into the Premier League, where we paid a lot of money, in my opinion, from Bournemouth for 10, 12 million for a player that's going to add numbers, stats, goals, assists. Even again on Monday night, when he gets into an area where he can try and find a player, he overkicks it. He just can't find that quality. Now, Marcus Tavernier said himself that it's time for him now to start showing that quality because it's not been good enough. So the player's saying it now. Is he putting too much pressure on himself now? Is he feeling the heat?
I mean, for me, actually, the first few games of the season, he was one of our best players. You know, I was excited by him. I wasn't sure what to expect by him. He and you can't knock his work rate, and I think Steve said you can't knock any of their work rates, and that's one thing I'm not criticizing in any way, shape, or form is the work ethic and the togetherness and everything. But he has clearly got ability. You know, he has got a little bit of pace. He's got the ability to beat one or two players, and then it's that decision making, I think, letting him down, whether he's placing it over hitting passes, under hitting them, not quite, no shots really getting on target. I mean, for me, we'll come to a team. I think I would always have one of Christie or Tavernier in the team. I don't think you can play both of them. I think the work rate that they both give you, if you were to take them both out, I think that could be a problem. Whether you alternate them, I don't know. But I think one of them has to be in the team because they work so damn hard. But then you have to have someone else who can give you goals and assists on the other flank, whether that's Anthony, as Steve mentioned, obviously Stanislas, like people saying, will he stay fit? I mean, if he is fit, he's brilliant, right? So if he's not fit, then it's a mute conversation anyway. Right now he is fit. So Stanislas has to be in the equation clearly. Maybe he's more of a number 8 now than a wide player. That's the only thing with Stan. Maybe he's a bit centrally. I don't know how much pace he's got, whether he wants to test those hamstrings too much and maybe playing more centrally, get him on the ball a bit more. Anthony, obviously Dembele, we've spoken about. Saw him in the very, very small amount of Southampton, and great for a couple of tricks, beats a player and gets knocked off the ball because he's a bit lightweight. After the World Cup, obviously Brooksy comes into the equation. Whether we're hopefully putting too much pressure on that, I don't know. But if he can get back to anything like he is, and what a player that is. So for me, I think I just think the balance is wrong. And I think in January, as I've said time and time again, if we can buy one player in January, just one, make it a lightning quick forward, a wide forward. Who can play either side, lightning quick. We can stretch teams and actually worry them because teams will not play can play a high line against us because they know that Christie's not going to get in behind really with searing pace. Tavernier's not got searing pace. Dom's not slow, but he's not got searing pace. So it's quite easy to play against us. And if you have a player who's very, very quick, that makes a big difference. So I just think we have to rethink the balance, certainly at home.
Steve, I've been asked to balance this argument out and said, why do you keep letting Ryan Christie off? Does he get an easier ride because he only cost 2.5 million, a quarter of the Tavernier price? And I think I'm quite comfortable in thinking that Christie's a squad player at best. I would like him in my squad. The fact that we're picking him week in, week out is a concern if we want to finish 17th. And that's just me being blatantly honest.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? For me, if I'm going to pick one out of Tavernier and Christie, I'd pick Tavernier personally. I'm more disappointed with Christie as time goes on, like you've just said. He's a Scottish international, don't forget. He's played for Celtic in Europe. I mean, this guy's got some serious experience. So you'd think he'd have that end product. He'd have that, I don't know, just a bit more about him than we're seeing. And I'm not, I actually rate Christie quite a lot. I think he, puts one hell of a shift in for us every week. It's just the position, some of the positions he gets in, and they're so good, and he just doesn't take advantage of them, and that's so frustrating. Even the goal he scored this season, I mean, come on, he's scuffed that in off his studs, and it's very
absolute limbs.
Well, and I don't think I've seen him in his whole time for us hit a clean strike and score a goal.
So we have.
So we keep getting told. But then you get the likes. The thing with Tavernier is he's not proven at this level at all. We didn't know what we're getting. He's a bit raw. Probably needs a bit of developing. But there's a talent there. There's Aaron said he's got a bit of pace. He can dribble. Maybe that decision making will come. The end product might come as well. Jayden Anthony, on the other hand, he's already shown he can do it in this division. and we seem to be leaving him on the bench. That for me is a little bit frustrating, because I think he gives you just as good a work rate, and he's shown he can put the ball in the back of the net. He can make sensible decisions. He's been in and around this team. He's obviously got a good relationship a lot better relationship on the pitch than some of these other new guys that have come in. I'm not putting Christie in that, but Tavernier, maybe he hasn't got that. He's developing his relationships as well, thinking where that striker's going to be for the pass. And I don't know, but yeah, it's Christie that I'm more disappointed with than Tavernier for those reasons, because I think he should be at a point now in his career where he needs to be stepping up really and scoring us some goals.
AFC Bournemouth Germany has put in the chat 27 goals in 95 matches for Celtic. So Bournemouth Germany's putting some good stats in there. Aaron, we're going to move on to the predicted 11 very, very soon. It's coming right up. Aaron, quick shout out though for Mark Travers. I know Steve mentioned him. I think it's great. I'm sad for Neto. I think he's steadied the defence. He's been that calmness at the back, and he's been a good goalkeeper for us. But Travers came on the other night. He conceded the penalty. He doesn't say penalties in his current record on his statistics, though, so that's fine. But I think it's great to see Travers come back in. I think everyone's going to get right behind him, and we fully support that Travers is a good goalkeeper, and he'll be absolutely fine on Saturday.
Yeah, I think out of the two today, I'd rather it was that way around, that Dom isn't so bad, whether he's fit for Saturday or not, but certainly that's good news. He's not bad, rather than the other way around. But look, there's no doubt that Neto's come in, and Southampton was his first defeat, so he's had a positive influence on the team. He's obviously experienced. He has made some great saves. But Travers was our player of the season. He won 4 out of 5 awards last year. He clearly hasn't lost that. I hope he hasn't lost any confidence, because that's the only thing I would worry about. Bit of momentum with him, but nothing to worry about with Travs. It is a blow for Neto for sure, but I've got full confidence in Travs. He's got. I can't wait to sing that song again, which has been sorely lacking. Yeah, a bit of a worry that we haven't got anyone really on the. So if he gets injured, then we're in a bit of.
That's the worry.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can get an emergency loan, can't we, if we have to?
They didn't register Will Dennis, did they?
No. Norwich out of retirement. Anyone?
Well, I think Gareth Stewart might have to put his gloves on again.
Maybe.
Right,
let's have a look at this predicted 11 then, because in the last 2 fixtures, maybe 3 fixtures, Gary O'Neill has gone unchanged. I'm just going to show a predicted 11 on the screen, and in the chat, and Steve and Aaron are going to help me as well. I'm going to need to choose 2 players between Solanke and Moore, and Tavernier and Christie. So which one would you pick in the chat? I've gone for Travers, Smith at right back, Mepham, Senesi, Zamora to come in at left back. Back 4 might be a 2 holding with Lerma, having more license to go forward. Cook and Lerma, Billing in that free role. Anthony left to link up with Zamora, maybe be a little bit more direct. Then Steve, is it Tavernier or Christie, and Solanke or Moore? Where are you leaning towards?
Right, let's start with up top. I've got a funny feeling if Dom is anywhere near, if he's not 100%, he's not going to play. If there's a slight niggle or a knock, because I look at Tottenham and their backline. You got Romero, you got Dyer. They could easily knock him about, and I think it might actually suit keeper Moore a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Sorry, say Moore twice in a sentence there, but yeah, I don't.
It depends what his injury is, isn't it? Because if
it does,
if it's a painful one, and he's only got 3 more games and he's going to rest for the World Cup, then if it's not a wrist, then fine. If it's actually an injury, they don't want to get worse, then you're right.
Yeah, I think if there's any chance of it getting worse, but it's a flip of a coin. Obviously, from a working for the rest of the team point of view, you'd want to go with Solanke, wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because what he brings to the team is a completely different dimension to what Kiefer Moore does. Tavernier and Christie, unfortunately, I think I'm going to go if that is the choice. I think I know what Gary O'Neill will do, and he'll go with Christie. Personally, I just think he likes that bit more experience. He seems to, and I would apply this to the left-hand side. Unfortunately, I think again we go back to West Ham, and obviously Jay-Z gives away the penalty, and he almost looked guilty of it when he was sat there after it happened. I think it was more of a case of he knew what had happened and knew what was coming, but Gary O'Neill has always seemed to have sided with more experience with Fredericks and then pushing Smith over, and I just kind of think that's what Gary O'Neill will do again. The Anthony one, I'm not too sold on. I think, as in, I don't think he'll be left out. I think he that's probably the one that might come in for me. But the rest of it looks pretty much the same stuff. I mean, Travers, like you say, you got to use him. We ain't got a choice. I just think I don't know about Jay-Z. I think he'll get left out again. Unfortunately, I don't want to see it personally, but I just think that's what Gary O'Neill will do. Right,
that's Steve's opinion. Aaron, coming to you very, very soon. I'm going to go with Keith Moore up top. I think the Solanke one's really difficult. He says we don't think it's as bad as it is, but I think he might just be not fully fit, and I think he might go with Moore. Let's go with Moore up top. I'll take that executive decision. Alan said in the chat, how about Stacey at right back? Look, I have no issues with Stacey. I've backed Stacey many times before, but Smith will definitely play, I'm sure of that, as captain. Right, in the chat, we're going to need to know whether you want Tavernier or Christie. You've got about 30 seconds. Tavernier or Christie? Aaron, are you swinging towards Tavernier or Christie? And your other thoughts that you might have in the next 30 seconds.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd rather keep Dom for Leeds and Everton, because I think if he can play before the World Cup, which sounds like he possibly can, let's save him for that game. Sorry to throw a quick spanner in the works, because I know you asked me about this before, but Spurs play with a 5. I wonder if Neil will match them up. I don't know, because that's all how they play.
Well, I don't think do they play now.
They play a back
3 up top.
Definitely.
Yeah, 3-4-3, isn't it? Now
yeah,
they play.
So they play 3-4-3.
They pretty much played a back 3 every week.
Yeah, so he might match them up with that. Tavernier or Christie, flip of a coin. I think he will go for Christie over Tavernier in this game, and I really hope he does keep Anthony in it. As far as Zamora goes, I can see what Steve's saying there. It would not surprise me at all if Fredericks and Smith keep their positions. But I just think we look. It depends. Look, if he wants to try and hold, keep in the game, then he'll go with Fredericks and Smith. If he wants to try and attack them from the off, he'll go with Zamora with Anthony on the left. So, yeah, I would definitely do Zamora and Anthony. I reckon he will go, as he has done. That's my worry.
Pretty split. I'm just going to go with Tavernier. I think he's the £10 million winger. I think he's spoken about this week. Yeah, go, Steve.
I mean, if I was to choose myself, I just gave my opinion on what I think Gary Neal will do. I would go with Tavernier. I would go with Zamora and Anthony, and exactly like you've got it there.
Yeah,
that's how I would end up with it.
Free hit, isn't it? To some degree, not free hit.
Well, it is. Yeah. I mean, we're not expecting too much, are we? So why not have a little go at them?
Yeah.
Let's see. I think we're all in agreement.
It's not. It doesn't really suit the narrative of Gary O'Neill so far, though, does it?
No.
But has he got anything to lose? Can he be a little bit brave? That's what I'm going at. Right, we're going to bring you clue 3 because those score predictions are coming very soon. So in the guest player, he has played for AFC Bournemouth and Spurs. He has 30 appearances for England and he has 7 goals. And your third clue is that he scored the winner in a 1-0 win over Brentford in 2006, 2007, I think. I'm waiting for it to come.
That's made it a bit more easy.
This player scored the winner in a 1-0 win over Brentford in 2006 and 2007. I'll tell you what, let's have your predictions now for guess the player. Get them in the chat now. Who do you think we are talking about as we look at the other scores in the Premier League? The other scores, the other fixtures, shall I say, on Saturday. So who do you think?
I missed some games.
Yeah, well, we'll get the matches out. So guess the player, do let us know. So other games in the Premier League this weekend is Leicester versus Man City. Early kickoff on the Saturday. Newcastle against Aston Villa. Bournemouth, as we know, will take on Tottenham. Brighton against Chelsea. Crystal Palace against Southampton. Brentford Wolves. Fulham Everton. Liverpool Leeds. Arsenal Nottingham Forest. And Manchester United will take on West Ham. Any other games in there, Steve, that tickles your fancy that you've got going to keep an eye on?
Well, the big one for me is the Brighton Chelsea game. It's Potter's old club. He's going back to his old stomping ground, isn't he? So that'll be interesting to see how he gets on there. I don't really, not a lot of them really stick out to me. I'd like to see how. Obviously, I'm keeping an eye on people like Forest and Leeds. So they've got a couple of big sides they're up against this week, both away from home. So we'd like them to both lose, please. That'd be lovely for our cause. But obviously Arsenal struggled last week, and Forest beat Liverpool. So who knows this bloody Premier League season?
What stands out for me there is that there are all the teams below us are very difficult games. So hopefully won't be any worse position after the weekend.
Well, we said that last week, and they beat Liverpool.
Yeah.
AFC Bournemouth Germany wants to make sure that there's no cheating or checking of Wikipedia. Right, Steve, guess the player. You've had the clues. Who are we talking about? Who am I talking about?
Well, I was stuck between two until the last clue, and I'm going to go for Darren Anderton.
So Steve is going for Darren Anderton. AFC Bournemouth Germany has gone for Darren Anderton. Donald has gone
Unless you're being
Darren
sneaky
Anderton.
again, like you did last time.
Yeah, exactly.
Liam has also gone for Darren Anderton. Donald, Darren Anderton. Aaron, who are you going for? Guess the player. Who are we talking about?
On the first two clues, I was thinking Defoe or Anderton. I was trying to work. I'm pretty sure Defoe's got more than 7 England goals. So
that's what I thought.
So I'm pretty sure it's Anderton. But then again, I actually thought Anderton played more than 30 games. I know Venables played him every single match he could. And obviously before after Euro 96, obviously. But
Jermaine wasn't with us, I don't think, in 2005-06, was he?
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I'd go Anderton. But I thought he had more England caps than that.
Some choices in the chat between Anderton and Jermaine Defoe, because there are England appearances in there. There are goals in there. Steve's gone for Anderton. Aaron's gone for Anderton. And I can reveal, guys, that guess the player on this match preview is Darren Anderton.
Hey.
So welcome to everyone. Well done to everyone who got that right. Darren Anderton is guess the player. There we go, guys. Remember seeing Darren Anderton in the Bournemouth shirt? Didn't he score in his last appearance as well? Can remember that?
Yeah. It was only half a game, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, it was half a game.
Right. We move from guess the player to those score predictions. We want to know what you think the score will be on Saturday at Dean Court between Bournemouth and Tottenham. And Steve and Aaron are going to give theirs. Really enjoyed this evening talking about this match in the Premier League. Please do hit the like button. We want to get to at least 50 likes on this video and subscribe to Cherries Red Army. Aaron, big game in the Premier League for both teams. Winless in 2 for both teams. And I'm going to go, do you know what? Reverse psychology. I normally back the Cherries, and I always do. I always feel confident going into games. Reverse psychology, though. I think Tottenham might win this game 2-1 head. Heart. I obviously want to pick up points and hope we can at least get a draw. But I'm going for reverse psychology on this one. Aaron, your score prediction before you head into the chat.
Yeah, call it reverse psychology or call it realism. I think we'll lose. I don't buy the. And there's no disgrace as well. You know, Spurs. Look, they've got a world-class manager. They got 2 world-class forwards. It's no disgrace. I think it will be tight. I don't think they'll roll us over. It's not the Conte way anyway, and I think we will compete because we have been competing in every game under Gary O'Neill. But you know, I don't like backing against the boys, and hopefully, as you say, I'd love nothing more than this to hit me right in the face. But I think we will lose 2-1 to Tottenham.
You've also gone for a 2-1 head. Mark Cole is going for a 1-1. Mark Singleton's going for a draw. We always predict a lot of draws because I think we will concede goals in the Premier League. So we always need to score at least more than 1 to try and win the fixture. So I think there'll always be a lot of predictions for draw. Just like Carol Tuller has gone for a 1-1. Chris has gone for a 2-1. Liam's gone for a 1-0. Going to come back in the chat for the final score predictions, though, Steve. So we've both gone for a head 2-1 to Tottenham. Come on. Bring a win or something to the table, please.
What would you come to me for positivity? It's a really tricky one. This is because there is an argument to say, you know, they've had a midweek game. They've had disappointment in their midweek game, well, somewhat, and you know there could be some tired legs out there. There's every chance. You know, you do see these quite regularly. These sort of upsets after European nights. So I'm going to go for a 1-1, and that's head and heart. That's what I think.
Just like Ricky said, I don't think they'll blow us away. Cameron's gone for a 2-2 draw. Ethan Burney's gone for a 2-2 draw. There's conversations in the chat about how many goals Jermaine Defoe scored for England. I think there's about 20 in there for him. AFC Bournemouth Germany's gone for 3-1 head, 1-1 heart, just like Steve. Sammy's gone for a 2-2. Definitely.
What's happened to her this year? Come on.
Definitely changed.
She's lost the plot, hasn't she?
Alan's gone for a 2-2. Any more coming through, I will show them on the chat. Look, we hope we can get a draw, but it's going to be a tough game, and hopefully Tottenham don't find their shooting boots. Aaron, final thoughts going into this fixture. There's 9 points up for grabs before the World Cup. Gary O'Neill's got maybe 3 Premier League games plus the cup game. Nothing to lose. Come on, Gary. Just get us on the front foot a little bit earlier today.
Yeah, it's just the fickleness of a football fan. When we were 2-1 up against Fulham, I was like, we could be 6th in the league. We're going to be flying high. We get pegged back in that game, lose to Southampton, lose to West Ham, and suddenly I'm like, will we be in the relegation zone by the World Cup? So, and we got some difficult games because Spurs obviously are Spurs. Leeds away, although they're awful at the moment, is very tough, and Everton are finding form. So I do worry that we're going to go into the World Cup on the back of a run of defeats. But for me, if we can stay above that line before the World Cup, that's huge psychologically. We can get something out of this. But I'd like to give it a go, as you say, and there's no disgrace losing to Tottenham, whatever form they're in. But if we can give it a go, get a goal, get a bit of positivity back before 2 really, really big league games after that.
Before I come to Steve's final thoughts, thank you to our sponsors, Aquashine Exteriors. You can check them out. Details in the description, including their website. Also, thank you to our monthly members and anyone who's donated recently. We've had a few donations come through. We really appreciate it. We love delivering these types of shows to you, and you can become a member or donate at buymeacoffee.com/Cherries Red Army. Also, remember that if you do that, you'll be in the hat to win a AFC Bournemouth scarf or a street sign. That will end at the end of October. Steve, I'm sure you'll be there on Saturday. You'll probably have the boys.
Absolutely.
We need to get them pumped up in the stadium. Look, we don't score many goals in the first half, but if we can score the first goal in this game, do you know what? We don't lose football matches in the Premier League when we score a goal. Do you know that?
Really? No, I didn't know.
I'm sure I'm correct in saying that.
There's a first time for everything. I don't know. It's a little bit like what Aaron said. It's early days, and let's not forget in the Premier League. And like Aaron said, 1 minute we're looking up to 6th, and then a couple of losses later we're worried about relegation zone. It is very tight, but we've had enough. It's been a very VAR happened to me. It's been a very up and down season for us. Let's not forget we've had a bit of a turbulent start. We've lost our manager. Someone's come in, steadied the ship. And maybe it was a bit of a manager bounce, and now we've been brought down to earth a bit more. As we've seen some of these decisions and performances just not be up to what we've seen prior to that. And I think come Saturday, I think it's a great opportunity. And if I was Gary O'Neill, I'd be saying let's put that injustice to bed that we've had earlier on in the week. Let's go out there. It's a slightly wounded beast in Spurs. Like Aaron said, they've lost a couple. They had a bit of a dodgy night in Europe. Let's have a go at them. That's what I would be doing. But it's not been Gary O'Neill's way, has it? So it's what I would do. Let's see what happens.
Aaron, thank you very much for coming on this latest match preview. Really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, and see you on Saturday, all of you.
See you Saturday, Steve. Always a pleasure to see you as well. Thank you for your thoughts this evening in this latest match preview.
It's always a pleasure to see you as well, my friend. Almost as a pleasure as it is to see the VAR.
Let's hope we can have a good game on Saturday where it's just man against man and we don't have any technology involved. Thank you to Ricky from the Last Word on Spurs. Their details are in the description. I have done a opposition view with them as well from a Bournemouth perspective. But look, Saturday, AFC Bournemouth are back at home. We need to get Dean Court rocking. We weren't good enough as fans in that game against Southampton. So we need to get Dean Court rocking because we're a 12th man and a 12th person in the fixture, and we can really help the team. And we've got Super Mark Travers back in goal, and we've got every chance to keep a clean sheet. And you never know, we might.
Well, there's a positive. We got a great song to sing.
Absolutely. And we might get back to scoring ways. Look after yourself. If you go into the game, we hope you enjoy it. If you're watching the Cherries around the world, also try and enjoy it. And the Cherries are hopefully trying to get points back on the board in the Premier League before the World Cup comes around. From me, Aaron and Steve, we'll see you on the next one. Up the Cherries.
Up the Cherries.
Cheers.